Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, this is another interesting book, relatively rare. It was published many years ago. Finding Your Personal Power Spots, a unique guide to contacting inner and outer energy points that will transform your life, by Jose Alberto Rosa and Nathaniel Altman, based on the secret Brazilian teachings. Based on secret Brazilian teachings in the tradition of Carlos Castaneda's Don Juani. Well, this was originally published, and I don't think it was very much of a success. So you can find this out there, Korean Press out of Britain. You can find this out there on the secondary market. The usual culprits, eBay, Amazon, etc. This came out in 1986. Sounds kind of recent to me, but it really isn't. So you're looking at a book that's almost 40 years old. And what is this interesting? Of course, Castaneda, I don't know if he had anything to do with it, or one of his last books was A System of Body Movements. And of course, this is based, I call this Santeria yoga. That's what I like to call this as it's a very interesting, and what's in here is a relatively rare system of mixed. Of course, very few people understand, Brazil was the last country to outlaw slavery. And they had a huge amount or a great amount of slaves that were brought in there. And it's quite fascinating. Of course, Brazil basically, which speaks Portuguese, which is a form of Spanish, and Portugal, of course, is Spanish, has that strange and unusual mix of all that. And of course, Spain was occupied by the Islam for about 800 years. So you've got this weird mixture of things. But what's interesting is, finding power spots in something, it's always fun to do. I don't know how many people have tried that, but, generally there are what are called sacred energy spots in pretty much most people's towns and areas are close to you. These can be what they call vortex spots, holy places. And these are created even in modern times, or places where the energy is strange. Gettysburg, where 50,000 Americans killed each other in a civil war, has all sorts of bad energy in it. But it is a power spot, and it may be a good place to work with spirits of the dead, etc. There are traditional power spots. A lot of these, of course, are places where the Native Americans have been actually have tribes or know about. There's famous ones like Sedona, Arizona, Giant Rock, Southern California. Places I've both been to, and there certainly is interesting energies there. And you can learn how to use natural energy spots to increase your consciousness, to help heal you, to transcend time and space. People like to go to these places and try mental and physical time travel. So it's a lot of fascinating things. Now, this is a very interesting system that's kind of tied into the Santeria system. As well. He talks about the gods, the Santeria gods, and how they're connected, and that goes in here. But he goes, there's inner and outer. So he shows you how to activate, which is basically a kind of a form of chi, based in his system. And he has these particular spots, which he talks about how to access. So as I said, this was published, I don't think this was ever published in the United States. This is published by the Korean Press out of the UK. And I don't know what this retailed for initially. It was pretty inexpensive. As I said, I was able to find this online inexpensively. And of course, this is available to Patreon and All Access members in our library. But you can find this online if you're one of those non-supporting people that don't support us on Patreon or All Access because you like bad information. You give money to the bad guys. Okay, so he talks about this and this kind of system. Now, as I said, he's got inner and outer. Now, power spots are generally physical things that you go to and where there are energy differences. Now, there could be a huge amount of physical power spots which are contained, as I mentioned, with spirits or entities, or it could be a place where there's some sort of earth problems or magnetic shifts or strong magnetism or etc. And all this will then create different energies in that area and attract different entities. Now, this book is filled with body position. Now, the way you activate your inner power spots is by doing what I can call it Santeria yoga. And we'll get to that here as they have illustrations here. And he talks about doing it. Now, there's basically what he considers three power spots for the human body. And he talks about grounding yourself, connecting to the earth, etc. And the bigger philosophy that is contained in the what would be called gnosis empowerment, the understanding of force energy physics, is the fact that you are accessing energies and are a channel for everything. So what they do here is they show you how to connect. I don't believe in connecting to the earth energies directly. We are not part of this earth. While there are a necessity to work with earth energies, if you ground yourself in the earth, you never ascend. You're connecting to this realm, which we are not part of. We don't come from here. We're weird species, but we have to work with and be synergistic with and take care of and preserve the environment we live in. We're almost out of water. We've destroyed everything. Well, you're going to find out when you poop in your own sandbox, you're going to find out that you're going to end up having poop all over you. So, but this is a typical type of thing. You know, the old world connecting to the energies of the earth and everything else are really gone. That's a transitional. As I said, we need to preserve and protect, but we also need to understand that we are very separate from that if we are going to ascend. Now, these kind of old primitive systems that deal with these old pagan religions, which are all religions, by the way, certainly you're not going to get anything off of the 4,000-year-old Judaism, the 2,000-year-old Christianity or 4,000-year-old Buddhism or the 1,500-year-old Islam. None of these things are going to do anything to empower you. What they're going to do is cement you, literally cement you to this earth so you go nowhere. But it's very interesting. I like the way he breaks down some of these power spots that are in you, which is a little unique because his chakra points are quite different than you would consider from the Asiatic, the Indian, from the actual Indian system. And they kind of boil it down to what I would consider a little better because these are your real powerful energies. You know, there are traditionally 7 chakras in the Indian tradition. And, of course, there is a lot more of those that we know of now. But traditionally, you use those. And, of course, the Indians who are sexually obsessed, of course, always use the root chakra, which is where all the sex and violence and everything comes through. And it is a powerful there because human beings have been polluted. But working with that, unless you're very serene and good and drink the tea every day and sit with a diaper on, you will get kind of goofy if you draw energy from the root chakra. Because we all need more sexuality, right? We're not horny enough. So the whole idea is you'll find that most of these Indians are completely sexually out of control, as has been documented by the Beatles, who went to India with the guru, and all he did was take their money and screw their wives. So the whole idea is that this is the kind of things you're going to get from India. There's not 1.5 billion Indians because they're disinterested in sex. So the whole idea is that, but what's very interesting is that he puts the first major chakra, and really where it should be. Instead of this thing just below the navel, which is so Indian, he puts it where the energy comes from, is in between your actual... In males, of course, is the place between your scrotum and your anus. Now, this in-between spot that's ignored because of people's ridiculous connecting anything that has to do with this area to homosexuality is completely bogus. And this is something that society needs to get over. And males who have a huge problem with prostate cancer because they ignore their prostate because it's somehow hooked up with homosexuality is absurd. People need to be massaging their prostate from the inside and from the out, and your partner should be helping you with that. But you can do it from the outside, and where your basically prostate is between your scrotum and your anus. That in-between area there is a great place to put red lights, to massage, etc. And this will, of course, keep your prostate strong and working and move blood around, which should really assist in of not getting what is a pandemic problem with males, which is prostate cancer. Not to mention, it makes you more sexually potent, and generally, if you're doing it right, it is fairly pleasurable. So, ironically, you can have an orgasm just by prostate stimulation. But this is overlooked as some bizarre thing that somehow hooks you up with homosexuality, which couldn't be further from the truth. Just ridiculousness, but hey, that's what you're taught, and you like it. So the whole idea is that the other system, and we'll show you here, of course they don't show that in the pictures here, that would be a little bit too much out there, but they do your second point, which is they consider this the solar plexus, which I find kind of strange. Above the navel here is your second system. So you've got three major energy groups within your body, what I've just, the scrotum area and the actual... what they call is the solar plexus, which I don't think is the solar plexus. Again, this is kind of an odd way of looking at it. And then your third is up here, which technically is your solar plexus. So these are the three energy areas that you're pumping energy into, and this is where the energy flows from them. So they're showing the flow. Again, of course, it doesn't stop there. It continues through your body. But I like that because it's a simplified system instead of the 7 chakras, which tend to be a little... I like simple, easy systems that get to the point. Trying to concentrate on 7 chakras when you can concentrate only on 3. And I believe the root chakra is better accessed in the area they spoke of there instead of trying to below the navel here. He goes above the navel when they do it here. And then he goes, now these systems are activated. Now other people would use a yogic system for kundalini, etc. He goes into all these different movements, which I'm not going to bore you with. They all are pretty easy, which I like about this. You know, one problem with hatha yoga and yoga in general is that basically it's very difficult to do. You don't fit in those positions easily, and it's going to take you a long time to do it. And considering that particularly most Americans are fat and overweight, you're not going to be able to do any of those things. And of course, there's a lot of very dangerous and stressing positions in hatha yoga in general. And so I'm not sure how great it is. I've done that kind of practices, particularly when I was young. And it takes a lot of dedication, and it's a lot of work to stretch that. And of course, you know, people love yoga classes and everything else, but these stretching in different areas and with your back and everything else, I don't really recommend a lot of them. You have to modify that. But here's some of the different things they tell you to do. Here's a squatting, moving your legs like this. Now, this is all about moving the energy up you, which again is a bad idea. You want to move the energy down, but that's very typical and what I would expect, particularly from a Santeria system. So there's different things you do here, and as I said, this is there were movements like this. I think it was called Integrity from Carl Castaneda's his last system. As I said, I don't know if that was written posthumously or come from him or whatever. I'm not really sure. So there's all these different movements. There's grounding. um, of how you can again stimulate these three Santeria chakras to assist you. So there's all these kind of things, and as I said, they're relatively easy to do. With all of this, to stretch you out, to get the flow, remove the tightness in your body, all makes sense. He's got a good little breathing exercise in here that we have as well. So again, it's a fairly simplified system. Now, finding your outer, so that was getting your inner, what he calls power spots. Really, that's just the flow of energy through your body. It's kind of just a tricky way of explaining it, which is nothing wrong with there. It's a system of doing that that goes with the entire process. Now, finding your outer power spots. Now, he talks about this, and again, we'll see connecting, discovering male and female orishas. And the orishas, again, are based in the Santeriaic tradition. He talks about power spots around different places. These are really gross power spots, but these are big areas known for Niagara Falls, these falls in Brazil and Argentina, Victoria Falls. Well, this is obviously massive. Mount Stonehenge, Mount Fuji. Well, these are massive kind of gross power spots. And because there's waterfalls there, you're generating what is really a kind of overwhelming and crude energy. If you go to Niagara Falls and with that mass amount of water pouring down, well, I'm not sure how much energy is accessible there or not. It's a little bit too gross of an energy. So he goes into this, and he goes into actually rituals to do there, very Santeria based, as you're putting together offerings and blankets and other things. These are very ritual based. If you like that kind of stuff, this book will be very helpful to you. I find all of this stuff to be kind of comical in my older age, all of this symbolic stuff to connect to all these different god systems or gods that are in nature. So it's very much part of this book. Which I think is going to turn a lot of people off. I don't know how many people want to connect to old Santeria or voodoo type Brazilian gods. That's either your cup of tea or not. If it's from your cultural background, most people tend to find it easier to perform. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing there's nothing dangerous about it. He even goes into clothing and other things. So you get into those things, and that's all part of the process. But he doesn't really, he gives you basic ideas of how to connect with to different energies in nature, which is somewhat helpful. I didn't find it to be detailed enough for my liking. But finding whether you're connected to a tree or if you go out into nature somewhere, without the use of L-rods, pendulums, and other things, finding your own personal spot there becomes much more difficult. If you use a few simple tools, you can find power spots within power spots. And this is something I found particularly up in Giant Rock, where I spent a lot of my time researching vortexes, that there are spots within these power spot areas that are much more powerful. And there may be something that connect to you personally. Life is all about that. We all like different things. Maybe I know people that put hot sauce on everything, those idiot maniacs. People put ketchup on everything. Yeah, I'm from Texas. Give me a bottle of ketchup. So the whole idea is that we have those kind of things there. And of course, that's what you like. So the food's going to taste better to you if you put on there what you like. But of course, we have to also get past our personal inbred preferences pushed upon us by society and ignorant teachers, otherwise known as your parents and your teachers. Yeah. So, all of that is something that we have to fully understand of how to break away from all of this. But it's a fun little book. If you're cherry picking it, if you're a person who's out at a little advanced levels, you can pick some things out of here. I wouldn't say this is profound. It is a new chakra system, and I do kind of like that. And I think those are energy centers people should concentrate on. Instead of worrying about the 7, 10, 12 billion that you get from the Mahirajis, you can get the more down-to-earth type. Here's 3 chakra points, which are the powerful ones where you want to send energy through. But I would, again, as I tell everybody, you always open your chakras from the top down, not from the bottom up. That's just dumb. but it's what we like. We are horny. So the whole idea is that the Maseratis, well, I'll tell you that. So the whole idea is that we need to understand that with the functioning of these type of areas. So finding power spots is very poorly put in here, but again, if you don't have any background, you may find that interesting. But you get yourself some L rods, you just kind of link yourself, and that's when you would want to connect to the earth. If you're looking for power spots within the earth energies, the earth grids, you want to connect to the earth first. So you do some grounding exercises to connect to the earth. Then you pull out your little old L rods and you start walking around. That's what I used to do. And you'll find power spots within power spots. And I have found some pretty amazing energies coming out of there where I connected to time travel energies where you can then experiment with that because you found a power spot within a power spot. And this can be very exciting, but of course, nothing is 1, 2, 3. Takes a lot of research. It's a lot of fun. And you have to go to spots like Sedona or Giant Rock or whatever else is out there. Those are the two that I'm familiar with being so popular. Thanks to Dick Sufkin, who got Sedona going in the, what was that, the late 80s or 90s. So all of that is a very exciting ways of doing things practically. I mean, too many people, if you're near nature and you can tap into these energies as part of your system, when you start becoming this person of the land, this connecting to this planet, you are doing yourself a disservice because you are rooting yourself in endless reincarnation cycles in a environment that really isn't very supportive in the long run. If you think sleeping on a hard ground with pebbles in your back all night, squatting to take care of your disposal needs, eating out of a can, carrying water with you, oh, it sounds wonderful. It's so natural. Bugs biting you, terrible weather, sleeping inside, all that stuff I find, which I thought was romantic as a young person, is really horrible. So my idea of roughing it is cutting filet mignon with a Dell knife. So keep that in mind. So this is a fun book. Like everything, here's the authors. Here's the title. As I said, you can find this usually online inexpensively. I think I paid like $7 for this. You can find these out here. It's no longer in print. But something, again, if you're interested in that area, it's a quick, easy read. It's only how many pages? 87, 88 pages. So you can really go through this quick, pick out what you need. If you are a person into Santeria, you find that interesting. Well, this is kind of your own little yoga. And of course, there's a lot of Latins out there that enjoy their cultural systems. And this gives you an interesting insight that I've never seen before. So I hope you've enjoyed. Until next time.